Hey everybody, Tekking here. Okay, this is kind of just an answer to a video that maybe like 3 people have asked me. It's clearly not one of the hugest recommendations for me to make a video, but it's something interesting I thought I would do. I'm gonna show you guys the kind of Yu-Gi-Oh deck I use. So if you're not a fan of Yu-Gi-Oh, then right away, this isn't for you. You can go something else. But I got some fans that were interested in the game, and I did an unboxing a very long time ago, like back in October, about it, and I got some decent reception there. So in case you guys were wondering exactly what deck I use, if you couldn't figure it out already, I duel using a 6 Samurai deck, just because I didn't play Yu-Gi-Oh for several years, and I ended up kind of getting back into it, playing with my friend Phil. And I must have, I found some older cards that I had just lying around my house that I had when I was a kid, and I built this crappy deck, and I fought him a couple times, and this is back when we were still going off the cards that we had when we were children. And after a while I decided maybe I should go out and buy another deck. Maybe I should get like a whole, like maybe something that can actually collaborate together. So I go out and I get, at the time they were selling the Samurai Warlords starter deck, or Samurai, it was a Samurai structure deck, and I just really got into how the deck works and how it kind of plays off each other and how it like swarms out your cards. I really enjoyed it. So after that I started building upon that, and that ended up me with the deck. So I'm just going to go through a quick run through of my deck and the cards that I, which combos I like to use and everything, and kind of lockdowns I like to show off. And yeah, so, but pretty much every card in my deck is a 6 Samurai. There's a couple of exceptions and I'll get to them. Alright, so let's start here with, that's my deck right here. It looks a lot bigger than it really is. Hold on, there's an extra card here, I forgot. There's, it looks a lot smaller than what it really is. I use these card sleeves, so I only have about maybe 60 cards in here. It looks like I have like about 80, but yeah, it's about 60. I think it was like 56, 57 last time I checked. Alright, so let's just go right off the top here. I'm just going to go down every card and I'll show you guys the deck I have. Alright, so Zan G. Okay, so he's part of the original 6 Samurai cards that were released, like the first generation. There's actually 20 or something monster cards that have the title 6 Samurai in their name, so yeah, it becomes in handy though. So the original 6 though, what their strengths were is that each of the 6 had a special kind of ability that when you have another 6 Samurai on the field, it kind of destroys a certain type of card. So you have to have another 6 Samurai on the field, and that's where it kind of gets annoying. But Zan G's thing is that he is good at destroying face-up attack position monsters, even if they're stronger than himself. So if I have another 6 Samurai on the field and I attack a monster, like let's say I attack like, Blue Eyes White Dragon with Zan G, who only has 1800 attack points, clearly he's going to lose, but thanks to his effect, Blue Eyes would be destroyed regardless. So I'll still lose Zan G, and I'll lose 1200 life points, but at least I'll still have destroyed the threat. The threat will be neutralized. I've used that a lot of times on, my friend Chris uses Maju Garzet, and he is awesome at destroying Maju Garzet. I like whenever I use him. Also, the 6 Samurais, the original 6 Samurai anyway, they all have a shared effect, which is like, I like to call like redirected destruction, where basically if I control another 6 Samurai on the field and Zan G were to be destroyed, I can redirect the destruction to the other 6 Samurai. So I'll still lose life points because whatever monster he used to attack, like let's say Blue Eyes attacks Zan G, I'll lose 1200, but I can destroy another 6 Samurai in place of Zan G, so I still have Zan G on the field. So that's why I like having him. Alright, this is Triple Impact. Very handy little magic card here. Kind of, I was kind of hesitant to put this in my deck at first because I was afraid of like how long it would take to set this up, but basically it's really simple. As long as I have 3 6 Samurai on the field, I can activate one of these effects. I can basically destroy all face-up spells and traps, all set spells and traps, or all face-up monsters on my opponent's side of the field. It's kind of like a Furin Zenka, except instead of, it has fewer options than Furin Zenka, but it also works if I have just any 3 6 Samurai monsters, so that's pretty handy there. Temple of the Six, it's a field spell. Basically what I'll do is I'll set that out, and every time I play a 6 Samurai, I'll get a Bushido counter, and a lot of my spell cards work with, some trap cards too, work with Bushido counters, and every time I summon a 6 Samurai and a Bushido counter gets added, all monsters on my opponent's side of the field lose 100 attack points. So at first, it kind of takes some turns to get going, because only 100 attack points are only going to take you down so far, but if I can spam out a sizable amount of 6 Samurai, and it works for special summons too, so I can easily get, several Samurai on the field, and it starts getting to like 100, then it slowly evolves, and it starts getting like 600, 700, 800, maybe even 1,000 attack points deducted. It becomes useful later on. Kind of very only useful if I draw like the beginning of like the first couple of turns, unless that. But if I draw like during the end of the duel, it's not very handy. Magical Cylinder, that's just a handy trap card. It negates an attack, redirects the attack to the opponent's life points. Sheen's Dojo. Alright, so Sheen is basically the other side of the Six Samurai coin. There's another set of cards called the Sheen cards, which kind of collaborate with the Six Samurai in some way. Sheen's Dojo also works with Bushido counters. Every time I summon a Six Samurai monster, Bushido counters get added, 1 each. And I can send it to the graveyard, and then I can special summon 1 Six Samurai or Sheen effect monster from my deck, I think even my graveyard, from your main, just my deck, whose level is equal to or less. This might not seem very useful because I would have to have a lot of Six Samurais on the field for it to even reach 4 or 5 and even get a halfway decent monster. This card works great for tuners. Exceptionally so for tuners, or any tuner material I need. So, I mean, for synchro material I need. So, very handy for tuners to get those out, which we'll get to in a second. Oh, Marshmallow. He's one of like the 5 monsters I have in my deck that are not Six Samurai. A major issue with Six Samurai, though, is that you can find if you use this type of deck, it burns out your hand very easily. You know, I've been in several situations where I've used up pretty much every card in my hand easily in 1 turn. That's why I have Marshmallow and some other cards in my deck that kind of stall my opponent. Marshmallow, very handy, of course. My friends always love when I use them. Is you set him face down. Anything that attacks this, he can't be destroyed by battle, and when he's flipped face up, 1,000 direct damage to your opponent. So it's basically like, you can't destroy this, plus you just got bitch slapped in the face with 1,000 life point damage. So he's very handy, and he's great at stalling. The only way to get rid of him is through an effect or spell or something. So he's fun to play. He stalls for time. All right, here's another one of my favorites, Yachi, Six Samurai Yachi, also a member of the original Six Samurai. Like Zan G, he has a special ability when there's another Six Samurai on the field. His thing is that he destroys set magic and trap cards, which he is probably the most useful of the 6 in my opinion, because he just getting rid of those set cards is really fun. Just being able to eliminate the threat. There's sometimes where that's backfired because your opponent can activate the spell or trap in response to the activation of the effect, and that can result in some bad things going on. Like I could attack the set card, it's like, oh well, I have compulsory activate device, so that sends it back to your hand. So there's a couple of backfires potential with this, but I just like using it. What I like is my friends both use Swords of Revealing Light and Swords of like Scorching Light, and those kind of cards that prevent you from attacking for an X number of turns, Nightmare Steel Cage. It's fun to have Yachi on the field because even though he can't attack, he can still use his effect even though I'm stalling, so I can still kind of like clear the field while I'm waiting for the effect to wear off. Also, Zanji does not have this, but Yachi and I think Kamon both do. Kamon's kind of like his counterpart. He destroys face-up spell and traps. Is that they cannot attack during the same turn you use the effect. But, you know, Yachi only has 1,300 anyway, so it's not a huge loss there. Musukani Magatama, I have 2 of these in my deck. Basically like the Solomon Judgment for the Six Samurai. It's a counter trap whenever you activate it. If you have 1 Six Samurai on the field, you can negate the spell effect, trap effect, or monster effect of any card that destroys cards. So if I have, you know, Yachi on the field, and then my opponent activates Mirror Force or some shit, and I activate Musukani Magatama, Mirror Force is negated just because I have a Six Samurai on the field. So I have 2 of those in my deck. Very handy card right there, like Musukani. Heavy Storm, self-explanatory, destroys all face-up spell and traps on the field. I mean, destroys all spell and traps on the field. 1 Day of Peace, kind of a stall tactic once again. Very simple. Each player draws 1 card, and then you cannot attack your opponent's next turn. So if I were to use it on my turn, we both draw 1 card, and nobody can attack until my next turn. So, good stall tactic there. Swords Revealing Light, just brought that up. I have 1 in my deck too. I'm guilty of that also. I found that a lot of my deck, a lot of my spell cards are focusing around stalling the opponent or drawing more cards, because like I said, I can run out of my hand very quickly when using this deck, so having stall tactics and cards that can draw more cards, that's certainly an essential in my deck. Mystical Space Typhoon, also handy. Destroys 1 spell or trap card in the field. Backs to the Wall. This can arguably be my best card, my best trap card in my deck, or one of my most dangerous. It's certainly one of my most dangerous. Basically what it does is kind of similar to the Winged Dragon of Ra's effect. I pay life points until I only have 100 left. 100 life points, and in exchange I can special summon as many Six Samurai in my graveyard as possible, as long as they don't have the same name as each other. This is good because if it's later on in the duel and I don't have a lot of life points left anyway, this isn't a huge loss. So if I'm like, you know, if it's like way deep into the duel and my opponent and I only have like maybe around like 3,000 or less life points, using Back to the Wall is not that huge of as big of a loss. And by that point in the duel, I would have a lot of cards in my graveyard, maybe even some of my synchros I'll get to, that I'll be able to just spawn out as much as I want. And of course, because I can just summon them, you know, that opens up the gateways for XZ's cards and synchros. It is freaking beautiful. I've had some great, you know, I've turned the whole game around with this card at least twice. The downside, of course, there's actually two downsides. Number one is there's some cards, there's some Six Samurais that require you to banish other Six Samurais to activate their effects. So if I use too many of those cards, this card becomes useless. And the other thing, of course, is it brings my life points down to 100. So whatever I do with this card, and if it doesn't work, I'm basically fucked. Like, my opponent, like, wide open. Like, if I span out a bunch of Six Samurais and I don't have the right ones and my opponent flips out a freaking Mirror Force or some shit, I'm wide open, I'm screwed, and I've lost. But it can be very handy if you just know how to use it. There's sometimes when I've had this on my field and I've just debated whether to activate it and go, like, it's like go big or go home. This is the ultimate go big or go home card right here. Alright, next up is Six Samurai United, also very handy. It also deals with Bushido counters. Every time I summon a Six Samurai, one Bushido counter gets added. You can only keep two on the card at the same time, so whenever I have two, it's basically just, I mean, you can still leave it on the field and, you know, use it whenever, but, you know, I used to wait until I get to two. Most of the times I used it when it's only on one. You send it to the graveyard, you get to draw two cards. So it's basically like a Shard of Greed, or Pot of Greed, except instead of using regular counters, it's just Six Samurai monsters. I have two of those in my deck. Actually, I might have three. No, I think I only have two. Kamon, he's the opposite of Yachi. Whereas Yachi destroyed face down spell and traps, Kamon destroys face up. So he's actually more useful than Yachi in some ways, because Yachi, when he's targeting a set spell, you know, your opponent can just activate it, and, you know, that could destroy Yachi, or that could just negate the effect. But with Kamon, he deals with threats that are already on the field, so this looks really good if your opponent activates a freaking field spell, or anything like a field spell, continuous trap card, any bullshit like that. This Kamon will take care of it. Monster Reborn, I don't even think I have to explain that one. Sheen Squire, one of my tuner monsters. He's also kind of like the Karibo in a sense of the Six Samurai, whereas if I have Sheen Squire well in my hand and a Six Samurai I control battles, I can discard Sheen Squire to the graveyard, and in exchange, that particular Six Samurai monster would not be destroyed this turn. So very handy indeed. It works really good with the Zan G, because Zan G's whole effect kind of hinges on the fact that he attacks and is destroyed, but he destroys the attacking monster as well, the targeted monster. He's also a level 1 tuner. I only really have most of the tuners I have. I mean, most of the synchros I have that are level 5 or 6. So it's handy. He's good with level. I have a couple level 4 monsters, but I only have one of him in my deck because the other tuner I have is 2 stars, and he's much more convenient to use. Okay, so this is a legendary Six Samurai. He's kind of like a second set of Six Samurai, and he is Kageki. Now, a couple of good things you can do with Kageki. I have 2 of them in my deck. First off, his defense is 2,000, so that's basically a solid wall right there. Also, whenever you normal summon him, you can special summon immediately from your hand a level 4 or lower Six Samurai, which is basically any Six Samurai. And the other also good thing is he only has 200 attack, but if there's another Six Samurai on the field with him, he gains 1,500. So his attack immediately skyrockets from 200 up to 1,700. You just have to be very careful with that, of course, though. You can't really rely on that too much because, you know, as soon as the other Six Samurai's gone, you know, he goes back down to 200 and he becomes a freaking punching bag, like, immediately. So, 3 good things you can do with him, though. He has good defense, great summoning abilities whenever he's normal summoned, as well as the attack boost. So he's a good bonus there. Here's my second one, Kageki, same one. Rivalry of the Warlords. Alright. What this card does is, this is kind of infamous between my friends because for the longest time I was using an effect that I thought was kind of OP, but I kind of had to look into what its effect does. Rivalry of the Warlords, let me just read this here because this is where the confusion began. Each player can only control one type of monster. Send all other face-up monsters they control to the graveyard. What I originally thought this meant was that, excuse me, I declare a type of monster, and both of us, me and my opponent, can only have out that type of monster. As you probably noticed by now, all 6 samurais are warriors, and the majority of my deck includes warriors. I have like a couple cards that aren't, most of them are warrior. So I thought, whenever I play this card, I just say, oh, I declare the type warrior. My opponent is fucked, essentially, unless he has a warrior-type deck, because he can't summon shit. That's not what this card does. What this card does is it lets both of us only have one type. So, let's say I have a 6 samurai on the field, that's a warrior. Let's say he has a luster dragon on the field, that's a dragon. He can only have a dragon-type monsters on the field, I can only have warriors. And this can change. Going back to, Marshmallow. Marshmallow's a fairy. Let's say I summon Marshmallow. I can have Marshmallow on the field, but I have to get rid of Kageki first. He's instantly destroyed. So, it's not like you're locked in. Like, whatever cards you have on the field, Warrior, you're stuck with Warrior. You can't summon anything else. You can summon another monster. You just have to destroy that one first. So, that's how Rivalry of the Warlords is supposed to work anyway. But it still kind of locks down your opponent's only using one deck. If he uses, like, a versatile deck with multiple types, he's kind of locked down there. Gateway of the freaking Six. This is like the cornerstone of my deck. I love getting this card out whenever I get it out. Alright, so, whenever I summon a 6 samurai, not one, but 2 Bushido counters are added to this one, which makes other cards that use Bushido counters very well. And the thing here is, it has multiple effects depending on how many counters are on it. So, if I have 2 counters, 4 counters and 6 counters, different stuff I can do with it. 2 counters is one I don't use that much, but basically what 2 counters does is I remove the 2 counters, and then whatever 6 samurai I have on the field, I can choose one, and it gains 500 attack for that turn. I think I can use that, like, you can use multiple times. Like, if I have 6 counters, I can remove, 2, power this guy up, remove another 2, power this guy up. I don't use that effect that much. Also, there's no limit, so I can have as many on here as I want. It only goes up to 6 in terms of effects, but I can have as many as I want. 4 counters is the one I use probably the most, and it's so freaking handy. 4 counters on the field, remove the 4. I can bring any 6 samurai from my deck or my graveyard right back to my hand. And if it's cards like Kageki, or we're going to see later on, there's another good 6 samurai that I can just throw out and I can spam out more. That's the counter I use the most. Bring back from the graveyard. That is so freaking awesome. And so it's very convenient. And then the 6 counter one, it just lets me basically bring back from the, I think, special summon, special summon 1 Sheen effect monster from your graveyard, which is pretty much designated just toward 1 card, and we'll get to him. But, I mean, there's other cards, there's other effect monsters that have Sheen in their title, but there's really only, actually, no, there's 2. There's 2 effect cards I can think of that effect would designate. So, yeah, but very handy card, Gateway the 6, and sometimes if you have, like, 8, 10, 12 counters on that thing, it's like basically you're basically invincible, because you can add basically whatever 6 samurai to your hand. You can play whatever strategy you want to play just immediately. It's freaking beautiful. It is a limited card though. You're only allowed to have 1 in your deck. Reinforcement of the Army, also very handy. Add 1 level 4 of the Warrior from your deck to your hand, so that's very convenient. Cunning of the 6 Samurai, kind of a trade-off. Basically, you select, it's a quick play, select 1 6 Samurai on the field, destroy that, and then you can special summon another one from either player's graveyard from your deck. So kind of like Monster Reborn, except it has a cost, and also it's only for 6 Samurai. So if I'm ever fighting an opponent that uses 6 Samurai, that would actually be very handy. Plus, Gateway of the 6 Samurai United, those cards work if my opponent uses 6 Samurai. I usually don't like to fight an opponent that uses 6 Samurai, because it's never fun fighting the person that uses your deck, because it's like you know all their tricks, and you know you're in for a very tough freaking fight. But, yeah, Cunning of the 6 is useful. Double-edged sword technique. Alright, so there's 2 trap cards that I can think of that involve special summoning a 6 Samurai from the graveyard. One is Return of the 6 Samurai, and I don't have that in my deck. Basically, what that one does, it brings 1 6 Samurai back from the graveyard until your end phase, and then it's destroyed. Of course, you can use the 6 Samurai effect of Shared Destruction, and you can you can direct destruction toward another 6 Samurai, and you can keep the one you summoned on the field, but I like Double-Edged Sword technique more. It's more of a risk, but it's very handy. This one requires you to summon 2 6 Samurai from your deck, from your graveyard to the field, and then they're destroyed at the end of your turn. But when they're destroyed, their combined attack is taken out of your life points. So whenever you use it, it's kind of like backs to the wall. Whenever you use it, you better know what you're doing with it, otherwise you're fucked. So, when you use kind of double-edged sword technique, the best way I can describe to use it, it's basically designed for synchros and XYZ summoning, because if you just, you bring out 2 level 4 warriors from your deck, from your graveyard, XZ them together, create, you bring out an Excalibur or whatever, or, whatever cards bring into my extra deck. So yeah, it has its advantages. But you got to be careful how you use it. Elder of the Six Samurai. I have 2 of these guys. Also very handy with a tuner. When I'm going to get to the tuners, they're 2 stars, he's 3. One of my most favorite synchro monsters is level 5, so, right there you have it. Also, his effect is very awesome. It's basically like Cyber Dragon, where if my opponent has no monster, has a monster on the side of the field while I have none, I can special summon him immediately from my hand, and then I can normal summon a tuner if I have that, and then there you go, I have a synchro right there. So, very handy. I think I have 2 of him. Hand of the Six Samurai. Alright. She's very convenient. I can basically, if I think I have to have another 6 Samurai on the field, yes I do, and I contribute 1 6 Samurai on the field, including herself, I believe, and then I can destroy 1 monster just immediately. So, very handy effect right there. Muzaho. Okay, this is awesome. Muzaho is actually the younger version of Hand, and this happens with a lot of 6 Samurai. There's like a younger version and then an older version, like the next generation. So with Muzaho, similar effect to Hand, except I have to pick another 6 Samurai. I can't tribute Muzaho herself. It has to be another 6 Samurai. And but the trade-off here is, while Hand can only destroy a monster card, Muzaho can destroy any card, spell, trap, monster alike. So very handy there. Also, her effect also hinges around Shine. Whenever I get to Shine, basically if I have a Shine on the field, I can special summon Muzaho. So if I have both of them in my hand, I can basically summon them the same turn. And Muzaho's effect is, I'll set her aside whenever I draw Shine, because they kind of go together. There's a story there. Grandmaster of the 6 Samurai, 5-star monster, very handy, 2100. His effect is kind of a little bit OP in my opinion, but if I have a 6 Samurai on the field, which as you've seen so far is something that is very, very insanely easy for me to do, I can just throw out Grandmaster. And he's not that great for any of my synchros or my XYZs, but he's a strong card on his own. And also, he has kind of a twist on the shared destruction thing, where he can be destroyed, but if he's destroyed by a card effect, I can bring back another 6 Samurai from my graveyard back to my hand. So he's very convenient. Okay, Kaizen. This is the guy I wanted to talk about. Kaizen. Grandmaster is he's the younger version of Grandmaster, and his effect is very similar, where if I just control another 6 Samurai, I can just, throw him right out on the field from my hand. And, I think he's more convenient, though, because he's level 4, and a lot of more stuff in my deck hinges on level 4s, especially in my XZ and my extra deck. He also gains, I think, 300 attack if I have 2 separate 6 Samurai on the field, so if I have just 1, I can special summon him, and if I have 2 out, I can activate his effect, and he's up to 2100 attack, which is the same as Grandmaster. I have 2 in my deck. No, I only have 1 in my deck right now. I'm looking to get a second one. I should buy a second one, maybe even a third, because he's very handy to have in my deck. He's usually the card I look for the most when I use Reinforcement of the Army, or, any card that lets me search my deck for warriors. He's the one I usually look at. So he's very convenient. Fiendish Chain, kind of like Shadow Spell, except with a monster effect. I actually did have Shadow Spell in my deck, but I took it out. Fiendish Chain restricts the monster from attacking, and it also makes them so their effects cannot activate. So it's kind of like a focused skill drain, and I've always liked skill drain, except the only thing I hate about skill drain is it affects your monsters as well, but Fiendish Chain kind of solely directs on toward one monster. So you use this card with a freaking Stardust Dragon, it works really well on the God cards. Just restrain the hell out of them. Effects are gone. Jinzo wouldn't work because, maybe I could activate this card in response to Jinzo's summoning, maybe. But it's just an insanely useful card. Karibo. I have a Karibo in my deck just because he's fun to have. Just discard him from your hand, instantly reduces any battle damage during 1 attack to 0. So he's fun to have in there. Okay, Gores, another awesome card that's not a 6 Samurai, but I have him in my deck. Gores is awesome when you're in a pinch, because I have him, because like I said, I don't usually have my hand with me. I usually burn out my hand very quickly. So whenever I have Gores in my hand, though, and my opponent has direct damage toward me, like attacks me when I'm wide open, I can immediately summon Gores. And in addition, if it was battle damage, which most of the time it is, let's say they attack me with a Blue Eyes, 3000 direct damage, that sucks, but if I'm still in the game, I can summon Gores, And, well, let's not use Blue Eyes because that's kind of a bad example. Let's just say Stardust Dragon. Stardust Dragon attacks me, 2500 direct. I can special summon, do that battle damage. I can special summon a token which has the same amount of damage I just took as attack and defense. So Gore's has 2700, token has 2500, and for both attack and defense. So there you go. I mean, I just had a, I just summoned an awesome thing there, so I can destroy, Stardust with Gore's next turn, and yeah, and it's if it's an effect damage, if it's any kind of effect damage, I can still summon him, and the effect damage is simply redirected back to your opponent. So, Magical Cylinder attacks me with damage. I can, throw this thing out on the field, plus your opponent takes as much damage. So, very handy card, Gores. I threw him in there because, he's very handy to have if things get really too bad. Jinzo, like I just said, Jinzo's my favorite card in Yu-Gi-Oh! Had him ever since I was a little kid. I just like the design of him. He's like some weird burn victim cyborg thing. It just looks really freaky to me. And his timeless effect of getting rid of trap cards is so freaking handy. I really need to get Amplifier though, because my deck's kind of has a lot of cool trap cards I like to pull out too. So with Jinzo on the field, they become kind of useless, but he's handy. Mirror Force, explanatory, attack your attack position monsters on the field on your opponent. Negate attack, also self-explanatory, negates the attack, ends the battle phase. Ego Boost, had that in my deck because a lot of my 6 Samurais, as you've noticed, are probably weak. The majority are under 1500, 1600 attack points, but with Ego Boost, quick play, my opponent attacks, thinks they got me, switch out Ego Boost, my card gains 1000 attack until the end phase, or then until the end of the battle phase. So that, of course, that could maybe surprise him, destroy the attacking monster, or at least reduce the damage to some effect. And that works when I attack too, so I can attack something with Yachi, relatively weak monster, only 1300 attack, boosts up to 2300. Suddenly has something going for him there. 7 Tools the Bandit, very handy to negate trap cards, cost 1000, destroy 1 trap card on the field, or to negate the activation. Eneshi, Sheen's Chancellor. Alright, this card requires you to banish 2 6 Samurai from your graveyard in order to summon him, but when he's summoned, 2200 attack, pretty good base attack. Also, I can destroy 1 card on the field per turn, but I cannot attack during that turn. He's one of those cards that I said it's kind of required that I have 6 Samurais. He's one that removes 6 Samurais, so he's one of the cards that can kind of damage my backs to the wall strategy or double-edged sword technique if I don't have a lot of 6 Samurais in my graveyard, but he's very convenient. Okay, here's my tuners. Okay, Kagemusha. He's my favorite tuner. He's 2 stars, so if, like I said, I have Elder, the 6 Samurai, throw out Elder, then I can, summon Kagemusha, instant tuner, to summon Shien or whoever. His effect is kind of like the shared destruction thing, except it's only with card effects. If my opponent were to activate an effect while I have a 6 Samurai on the field and it just targets 1 card, he can be destroyed or he'll absorb the effect instead. So if he breaks out like Shadow Spell or something that targets Muzaho, I can direct Shadow Spell onto Kagemusha, or Nightmare Wheel or anything like that. So he's very handy, though I don't use his effect that often, though. Also, 1800 base defense, very handy defense. Okay, here's the guy, Great Shogun Shien. He's the one that I mentioned that he's probably like one of the only cards that Gateway of the 6/6 counter effect affects. Great Shogun Shien, 2500 attack, one of the strongest cards in my deck. One of the strongest 6 Samurais in my deck were Sheen monsters. And he only lets 1 spell or trap be activated per turn. This might seem like a good effect, especially since it kind of gets a lockdown with Shien. We'll get to him in a second, though. The only problem with this is I read into it, and apparently it's not a perfect lockdown. What Sheen really does is he negates the first, he only allows 1 successful activation of a spell and trap. So let's say I have, I'll keep him aside when we get to Shien, because I really have to explain him when we get to Shien. You know what, I'll bring him out now, because I showed the tuner. Okay, this is the next Z card. This is my favorite to use during the 6 Samurai, is Legendary 6 Samurai Shien. He is the younger version of Great Shogun Shien, by the way. So basically, I thought for so long this was like a perfect lockdown, because Shien's effect is the first spell or trap that my opponent uses, I can negate and destroy. The first one they use. So, right away, that's a great card to have if your opponent doesn't use a lot of spells or traps, because, whatever they do use them, lock down instantly. The problem, though, with Great Shogun Shien is that you can only use 1 per turn. The first one is destroyed. Oh man, that's a perfect lockdown. No, because this one only restricts 1 successful use. So if my opponent activates, let's say he has a face down Mirror Force and a face down Sucker S2 armor. I attack his monster. He activates Mirror Force. I activate Shien's effect, destroy the Mirror Force. Great Shogun's effect did not kick in yet because the effect was not successfully activated. So he can still activate Sucker S2 Armor. I can't use Xian's effect again because I can only use it once per turn. He gets to destroy He gets to destroy Xian, and you know that's how the cookie crumbles. But most of the time that does not happen. Most of the time this is an awesome combo. Whenever I can get both of these guys on the field, you know, it still restricts spells and traps quite a bit. Quite a bit, certainly. So yeah, I'll just leave him aside, put Shogun back in my deck here. Elder, another Elder. Enishi, he was right here. He is Sheen's Chancellor's younger version, Enishi. Similar effect. I can summon him normally, and if I can banish 2 6 Samurais from my graveyard, I can target, I think, 1 face-up monster my opponent controls, and I can send it back to his hand. So handy little ability there. It's not really that handy as Enishi, as the Chancellor, because he can destroy cards. This one just sends them back to your hand. Kind of like with Kaizen, if I have 2 6 Samurais on the field with a different name, he gains 500 attack, so he's up to 2200. Enishi is kind of Kaizen's rival, I should say, if you look in the card lore. There's actually a lot of card lore with these guys, so yeah, he's pretty cool, though. I like that. He's 4-star. You'll see what that is. Yariza is the weakest of the original 6 Samurai. He only has 1000 attack, but his effect, the reason I keep him in my deck, a lot of people that use 6 Samurai don't have a Yariza in their deck. In fact, they don't have a lot of the 6 Samurai in their deck, but I like to have all of them because that's what they're called, the 6 Samurai. It's like, I only have 4 of them, though, because, you know, whatever. I believe in the heart of the cards. You need to have your deck at the strongest in the soul or whatever bullshit like that. So, basically with Yariza, though, Yariza can attack your opponents directly as long as you have another 6 Samurai. He has the shared effect of destruction thing. So, I've finished duels off with this guy because, you know, it gets down to the wire. You know, your opponent maybe only has like 400 life points left. He summons a freaking awesome monster. Oh, what the fuck? How am I going to get past that thing? Oh, summon Yariza. Attack directly. I win. That's how that freaking gets past that. So, yeah, Yariza is actually really handy, especially if you break out Ego Boost or anything like that. He can be very useful. Extraordinarily useful. Another Musakani Magatama. Samurai the Ice Barrier, you know, I just threw him in there just because he has the name Samurai. He's not a 6 Samurai. He's not related to the 6 Samurai. His effect doesn't even concern the 6 Samurai. But he is a 4-star warrior, so we'll get to that soon. But his effect is kind of When I shift him into defense mode, he's instantly destroyed, and I get to draw 1 card. Like I said, drawing cards is kind of important in my deck, so, you know, 6 Samurai the Ice Barrier is kind of useful, but really I just threw him in there because his name was Samurai. Okay, 6 Style Dual Wield. This is a card that deals with Bushido counters. Wait, no, this isn't. No, this isn't the one that deals with Bushido counters. That's Thunderstrike. I don't have that in my deck. 6 Samurai Dual Wield. Very handy. If I only have 1 6 Samurai on my side of the field, I can return up to 2 cards my opponent controls back to their hands. So, if I'm in a tight spot, and I only have 1 on the field, or, you know, I set this card, and then maybe like 2 turns later I summon a 6 Samurai, I spring this on my opponent, you know, has a little bit of an advantage there. Works really good for synchros, let me tell you that much. No, keep moves the hell out there. Heart of Clear Water. Okay, Heart of Clear Water is kind of another defense tactic. In case you're wondering, I don't have many cards left in my deck. I only have maybe like 10. So Heart of Clear Water, what that does is it basically gives Marshmallon's effect to anybody. If it's less than 1300, the effect won't work, but if it's less than 1300, which most 6 Samurai are, it cannot be destroyed by battle or by card effect, I believe. I think the only way to get rid of it is by destroying Heart of Clear Water first, so he's a good diversionary tactic for, you know, whenever I'm in a tight bind, you know. If I had, you know, where's a weak 6 Samurai? If I had Yariza on the field, for example, you know, oh crap, my opponent just summoned a freaking, you know, freaking God card. What am I going to do? Okay, well, I'll switch Yariza to defense mode, and I'll activate, you know, Heart of Clear Water. Boom, I can't be destroyed by that unless you destroy Heart of Clear Water first. So, very handy. Very convenient. Nizashi, another 6 Samurai. I think, no, we haven't gone through all of them yet. This is one of the original 6 Samurai. His effect, of course, Shared Destruction, and he can attack twice during the same turn. Kind of like the opposite of Yariza, where Yariza can attack directly. Nizashi can attack twice during the same turn. 1400, not a great attack stat, but he does still 4 stars, so I've used him for my XCs a couple times. He's the last of the 6 Samurais. Iroh, the original 6 Samurai anyway. He's the opposite of Zan G. 1700, pretty good base attack, 4 stars of course. And whereas Zan G dealt with dealing with face-up attack position monsters, Iroh deals with face-down ones. If I attack a face-down defense position monster, regardless of its defense, it's destroyed immediately. So, you know, let's say Iroh attack that card. Oh, what is it? It's well, okay, that's not a good example because that's Zen mains. Hold on. Okay, how about this? How about we just we throw out Excalibur there. Excalibur, we'll get to him in a second because he's really fun. Oh wait, 2,000 defense. I'm dead. I mean, I don't destroy it, right? No, as long as there's another 6 samurai on my side, it'll get destroyed. And I don't even think there's even damage calculation involved. Destroy that monster. You must control. I think it gets destroyed. I think it gets destroyed without activating effects or anything like that. Without activating flip effects. So he's very convenient. Another Zan G I have. Okay, Spirit. Hold off on him until we can draw. There he is, Shine. Okay, so Shine and Muzo kind of play off each other. You know, fire, water. Both are legendaries. Apparently, these two are husband and wife. If you look at the lore, because I'm a nerd and I look at the lore, they have the same effect. If I have Muzo on the field, I can special summon Shine, and vice versa. Like I said, Muzo's effect works by attributing another 6 samurai, destroying 1 card on the field. Shine's effect, if he's tributed for any reason, I can bring back another 6 samurai from my graveyard and add it to my hand as long as he's not Shine. So that's what I mean by their effects playing off each other. If one's destroyed, I mean, if I tribute one for the other's effect, I get to destroy a card on the field and I get a 6 samurai back. So they work at their strongest. Another set of cards that I don't think a lot of people have in their 6 samurai decks, but they're very handy if you get them both out at the same time, which... You know, you have a reinforcements of the army, you have a freaking Sheen smoke signal, have a freaking gate of the 6. You can get these 2 guys out very easily. So yeah, that's that. Spirit of the 6 Samurai is Shine's next. He's dead in the future. It's kind of depressing. He's a union monster, the only union monster among the 6 Samurai. When Shine, it's funny because Shine's name, I know a little bit of Japanese, Shi means... death, and Nai also means like to die. It has some designation for death, so he has like death basically throughout his name, which is kind of depressing. But Spirit of the 6 Samurai Union monster, I can summon him, and then I can either equip him to another 6 samurai, and he gains 500 attack. Let's say if I were to do it with Zan G, so equip it to Zan G. Zan G now has 2,300 attack. Whatever Zan G's about to be destroyed, Spirit will be destroyed instead, and whatever monster I destroy. If I destroy a monster while I have Spirit, I can draw an extra card, which right there, the drawing effect, very useful. Alright, what's next? We have Bottomless Trap Hole, very convenient card whenever your opponent summons a freaking, Stardust Dragon or something. Bottomless Trap Hole, banished instantly if it's 1,500 or more attack, that's very convenient. Command Knight, one of the few warriors I have that's not a 6 samurai. 1,900 defense, if he's on the field, all other warriors gain 400, so 400 attack, so very convenient, and you have to destroy the other monsters before you can get to Command Knight, so, if I just summon him, and I switch him to defense, or, something like flip face up or whatever, very handy card. Okay, Yachi again, I have 2 of those in my deck for obvious reasons. Sheen Smoke Signal, kind of like reinforcements of the army, except only with 6 samurai, and only with level 3 or less. This is the card I usually use to grab Yachi or Kamon, like if my opponent has a freaking field spell that's really annoying, I'll add Kamon. If he has a lot of set cards, I'll bring out Yachi, and he'll take care of that for me. So very, very good card. That used to be semi-limited. I think it's unlimited now. 6 Samurai United. There you go. I have that one before. Kagemusha already had that one. And it's the last card, which is the Wicked Avatar. My trump card if things really get freaking bad. The Wicked Avatar is one of the wicked gods. It's I don't know if you know this, but the god cards apparently have wicked counterparts, like evil counterparts. This is the opposite of Ra, because Ra had like the sun, and he's like a shining sphere, and this is a black sphere. So Avatar. First off, in order to summon him, you can't special summon him. The only way to do it is you have to tribute 3 monsters on your side of the field, just like with Ra or any of the god cards. That's easy for me because I could spam out 6 samurai very easily. When he's summoned, spell traps cannot be activated until the 2nd turn after this card is normal summoned, so you got some time right there. And as for his attack, well, whatever the strongest monster on the field is, Wicked Avatar always has 100 more attack and defense. So, kind of like the opposite of Ra, where Ra, you pay life points until you have 100. Wicked Avatar, you always have 100 attack points more. So, if he has a freaking Blue Eyes on the field, I have 3,100. He has a freaking Obelisk on the field, I have 4,100. So, always stronger than the original card, and as long as he doesn't have any troublesome card effects when I play it, can't summon anything, can't activate spells or traps until the 2nd standby phase. So, very freaking useful if I can finish off the duel as quickly as possible with this guy. So that's why I have him in my deck, kind of like as my last trump card. Alright, that's every card in my deck. Let's just breeze through my extra deck. I have 12 cards in there. I showed you guys Shien, very handy. Other card I like to play is Heroic Champion Excalibur. Takes 2 level 4 warriors, which of course I have a lot of. And basically I use him as like an OTK or like direct damage, very handy. If I remove two of the XZ materials, his attack becomes 4,000 until my opponent's next end phase. So you can think of a bunch of shit you can fuck up with 4,000 attack. It's very handy. I love using direct damage for that guy. X-Saber Wayne, don't use him that much. He's also a level 5 synchro monster. Basically, if I already have Shien out on the field, or if he's in the graveyard, I'm thinking about if I'm going to XE again, if I'm going to synchro again, it's probably going to be Wayne. I can summon any level 4 or lower warrior from my hand right to my field. So kind of like Marauding Captain, except he has more attack. So Still Swarm Roach, don't use him that much. He's very useful if I use him like immediately after the duel starts. 2 level 4 monsters, and I can prevent my opponent from summoning any level 5 or higher, special summoning any level 5 or higher monsters. Shockmaster, very handy. Kind of a bitch to summon. He takes 3 level 4s, but when he is, I can basically select monster, trap, or spell, and I think until I have to remove an XZ, and until my opponent's next end phase, he cannot activate or play any of those, the card I chose. So, he can be very good at shocking the competition. Terrible pun. Colossal Fighter, also kind of a bitch to summon. Level 8 Synchro, kind of annoying to get all the cards I need at once to summon him. 2,800 attack, and whatever monster I have, as many warriors I have on my graveyard, he gains 100 attack. Once again in my deck, if I use him late in the game, I'll have easily, 500-600 extra attack boosts at the least. So, yeah. Utopia, kind of like a negate attack with an attack stat. As a monster card, basically. And I think you guys all know about Utopia. Discard a card, negate an attack. He's kind of useful. Zen Mains, very useful. 2 level 3s, which of course I have a lot of. Wind-up cards are really good in my deck. So if I can summon him with 2,100 defense, and if he's going to be destroyed, remove one of the XZ materials, he's not destroyed, and I get to choose 1 card at the field in my end phase, and I get to destroy whatever I want. So it's very handy to have Zen Mains out. I also have Zen Maester, kind of like another wind-up. He's level 4 though. He gains 300 attack for any materialist he's had, so if he has 2, he's going to be at 2,500 as soon as I summon him, so I don't even bother removing his materials. His effect's not even that good. He gets like to change battle positions when I remove materials, but who wants to do that? Naturaya Landois. Naturaya cards also work in my deck because they require Earth tuners, which all my tuners are. Naturaya Landois is good at destroying, I think... Yeah, if I remove 1 spell card from my hand, if I discard 1 from my hand, I can negate the effect of 1 card on the field and I think destroy it. So, I don't get him out that much, but if I'm in a real bind and if I have the necessary cards, he's a level 7 tuner, also kind of hard to summon. I would have to have, I'd have to have Sheen Squire plus a level 4 plus a level 2, which, plus a level, no, I'd have to have... See, this is what I mean. No, I'd have to have 2 level 3s and a Sheen Squire. Yeah, to get him out. That's like the only way I can get him out. So, yeah, it's kind of annoying to get him out, but when he does, he's a good card. Gaia Knight, Force of Earth, he has no effect. It's just, one tuner, 1 warrior, 6-star tuner, 2,600 attack, just as an attack card. Okay, this is Shien, the 6 Samurai XE, and this is the last card we're going to go through. So basically, 2 level 4 6 Samurai monster becomes Shadow the 6 Samurai, 2,500 attack, same as Shogun, same as Shien. He's probably the easiest of the 2 to get out. Also, forgot to mention about the Shogun. If I have 2 6 Samurai on the field, I can immediately special summon him to the field, so he's very handy. But Shien's effect, if you remove an XZ material, you can target another 6 Samurai on the field, let's say a really weak one like Kagemusha, and his attack becomes 2,000 until the end phase. Don't use his effect that much, but if I have other 6 Samurai, very useful, of course. So that's Shien right there, and also he's very easy to summon. So, that's my 6 Samurai deck. Sorry if that dragged on there, but hey, wanted to do it just because of the sake of doing it. So I hope you guys enjoyed, or didn't pass out from boredom too much. I had fun doing it for some reason. I don't know why I did. But yeah, that's my deck. It might not be the best 6 Samurai out there. I know there's a lot better cool stuff you can do. I want to get an Asceticism of the 6 Samurai. That's a cool spell card. Don't have that yet. Naturaya Beast, I heard, is a good card. Ally of Justice Catastor is a good card. Need to get all those. Those are really expensive cards. But that's what I have so far, and whenever I duel against my opponents, like my friend Phil uses a Stardust deck and like a Synchro, like basically Yusei's deck, except it has a lot more better cards in it. And my friend Chris uses a Utopia not a fairy deck, but a Utopia based deck. So they're decent opponents, and I've won a decent amount of times. Like I've won just as much as they've beat me. So it's decent. I don't know if I would ever bring this to a tournament or anything. I'd probably have to really rethink my strategies and everything, but I like my deck. I wouldn't change it for anything, so I really love my 6 Samurais. So thanks for watching, everybody. Tekking101 signing out, so keep dueling. See you guys.